Welcome. I think we will start. Normally it should be someone from the tech real team for the time management. I don't know. Or maybe it's just an idea. Or maybe if you want. Just to be, I don't know. I just saw. It would be, yeah, it would be a great help for me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for closing the door. So, okay, so I think we can now start the session. So, first of all, I would like to thank you everyone for coming here, and also welcome everyone for attending this session. First of all, I will introduce myself very quickly. So, my name is Guitry Lucas, and I'm a French junior data engineer in France Université Numérique. And during the following 45 minutes, I will introduce you our group journey to the data-driven and the adaptive learning. So first of all, a few words about France Université Numérique. So we are not really a company; we are a public interest group from the promoting the e-learning in the French education system, mostly with the French universities. And we are based on, our platform is based on the open edX LMS, and also considering our customer needs, we have also developed additional open source application for four main services: the catalog and marketplace, which is learning analytics, which will be the topic of today's topic. Also collaboration tools, a forum with Ashley, and media services that allows to manage video webinar and document with the Marsha application. So let's start the journey to adaptive learning. So it has become crystal clear for everyone in the e-learning world that MOOCs platforms today are black boxes, and I would also say a monolith for learners, in the perspective that it's very hard for teacher and for supervisor of courses to get visibility on the learner activity during the course completion. And also for learner, a course looks like for learner a one-way learning, in the sense that to acquire, to get new knowledge and new skills, you need to complete a whole course. And that's actually, and also the pandemic situation has enlightened this current need from the learners, that learners want more freedom and flexibility about what they are learning, about how they are learning, and where they want to go, which skills they want to, which goals they want to build. They want to build their own themselves, their own learning path, and the future of e-learning is about adaptive learning, which is to say, learner wants to, as I said, wants to build their own path. And so for e-learning platform, it's about the issue is about providing a customized learning path based on the learner profile. So learner profile is not only reduced to what they have achieved, how they have been successful in their learning, but also what are their interests, what are their facilities, do they prefer such field or such field, do they prefer this way of learning or another one. So it's bringing adaptive learning in the e-learning world is about bringing an intelligence layer in the learning. But before bringing intelligence, we need a structure that can support this intelligence. And in this way, the three pillars of adaptive learning are about data, skills, and content. And that will be the three topics, the three thematics of this presentation. So let's start the journey in practice with a very simple and a very simple real-life situation. So let's consider our learner, which name is Alice, and she is enrolled in the courses Learn English in 30 Days. Her goal is to be able to speak English when she when going to a trip for her holidays. So she's currently watching a video in the course, in the Professor Doe's course. And when she's watching the video, so she's interacting with the video player. She's playing the button play, the button pause, and she's also configuring the video player for so that it fits to what she wants. And when she's interacting with the video player, some data can be collected about her learning activity, and those data can be processed. And it's about processing those data that help Professor Doe to get activities report about Alice's learning. With this reporting support, he can then observe the evolution of Alice's learning and then get visibility about her learning activity and know how have clues about the way she's having in his learning of English in this course. So on the scale of Alice, it's very simple to conceive, to understand, but what about on the scale of the whole learning platform? When you have millions, when you have hundreds, thousands, millions of students that are learning in parallel in the meantime, and when you have also a series of applications used for the learning. And that's the current issue of how to collect data and how to store data. What I mean is that when a group of enrolled students are studying on a courses, they are interacting with the LMS. For us, it's about the edX LMS, but they are also interacting with all the applications that are used to provide the content learning. They are using also the video application, the forum if they want to interact with other students, and also the catalog, the CMS. And each time they are interacting with all this application, some traces can be generated from all this application. And the issue about running a data-driven learning on a learning platform is how to collect all this data from different platforms and how to keep the interoperability of the data that are generated from the different platforms. So in our case, we have 3 million users on the Fun platform, and the 3 million users generate each day more than 1 million learning traces. So how, considering these two figures, how can we store such data, this big amount of data, and then how can we process them to obtain information, and this information in which way can we visualize this information to create knowledge about learning monitoring? What I mean by creating knowledge about learning monitoring is create knowledge from the reporting for the Professor Doe, for example. So the first step in this data-driven journey is about storing a big amount of data. The main issue when you collect, for our case, more than 1 million learning traces is to find a high-performance storage solution. Because in practice, you don't collect every day the same amount of data. For example, in France, in summer holidays, students don't really learn. You can see that in August 21, there was a very low amount of data that was collected, but on the end of the year, in November, December, students work a lot, and we have to face we have to be able to collect in the same way all the data, even if the amount evaluates among the day. And the solution we have found considering what we wanted to do is a Greylog based solution. This Greylog solution tool is for us our source of truth. It's where we stored all the collected data, and it will be the table truth of the data we will use for generating reporting dashboard. We collect this data directly from the platform, from the application we were using, and we have a stream-based architecture. And then from all this application, we then send them into the Greylog storage, and also for a cold and for long term. So it will be in this Greylog storage that the data will be processed, and then we also store them for a long-term storage. We also store them in daily archive. So it's very simple to manage, because an archive storage is about just managing files. So it means that we don't have to put a lot of effort about maintenance, and this solution of data storage is very affordable and very stable, which is a big asset for us, considering the 1 million daily traces we want to store. The second step, once our data are stored on a source of truth, the second step is now to transform them. We have to do something with this data. What can we extract from this data? So we have to consider the input issue is that we collect data from heterogeneous data sources. We collect the data from different type of application. So to face this problem, we have developed a homemade extract, transform, and load learning data processor. It's RALPH. RALPH is our Fun's homemade tool, and if you're interested about RALPH, I invite you to consult the repository associated to the project on our GitHub repository. And so this tool has two main assets. It allows to extract data from on a Unix stream from different type of data sources. We can extract data, for example, from Elasticsearch backend, Swift, etc. And then when those data are extracted, we can standardize them to feed them a data lake. And that's about the standardization step that I want to put the stress on for this second step of data-driven learning journey. Why do we need to standardize the collected learning trace? So as said before, we collected data from different type of data sources, but the data are in practice from where they have been generated. They have been generated from because an actor has made an action, has made several actions on the learning platform. So in practice, the content of the data are linked together, and we need to be able to keep this information from the data. So that's why we need to standardize the collecting learning trace, which is to say we need to write the data from all the that have been generating from the different application. We need to write them in a universal grammar, so that for example, from the forum application and from the video application, we can compile, we can process, and we can cross the data and then extract information from these two complementary data. So for this, we have made the choice of using the XAPI standardization, the XAPI standard of for standardizing our learning traces. So XAPI is a standard that was launched by Advanced Distributed Learning, and it's a writing standard that is based on a very simple concept. In practice, a learning trace is an action run by an actor. So let's take this example. Alice plays the video file name videoweek1.mp4 in the course Learn English in 30 Days. So it's a very simple action, and to describe an action, you need an actor, a verb, and an object. And so that's the real basis of the XAPI standard. XAPI is based on this triplet. Is based on this basis triplet: actor, verb, and object. And considering also the complexity of the action, you can have additional fields such as context result. So from our example, we can identify that the actor is Alice, the verb is about playing the video, so play. The object is about the video file, and as we have this additional information in the course Learn English in 30 Days, we can have an additional information about the context. She has played this video in the courses Learn English in 30 Days. In the course Learn English in 30 Days. So in practice, because now I have spoken a lot about what is an XAPI standard, but it will be also more easier for you to really visualize what is it about. So it's a JSON description about an action. So to identify an action, we have to render an action as unique as possible. So to identify an action, we use a unique identifier, and also we associate to this action the time when it was generated. So on an XAPI description of a learning trace, you have these two mandatory fields, which has the ID to identify the statement, and the timestamp which is about the time when the action was made in the system. The actor, which is in human conception, it's about Alice, but for in the system point of view, you need to add more information than Alice. And so Alice in the platform is represented by a username. Alice can be identified and recognized in the platform by a username. And so to be sure that it's Alice from the FunMOOC username, the platform FunMOOC, we need to also to associate the URL from the platform. The verb which is play, so play a video, is also identified with an IRE, and also in description we need to know to which verb it corresponds, to which verb this IRE corresponds. So we just directly give the verb name associated to this identifier, and the object. So to describe in XAPI an object, we base the description of an object with also the activity type. Play the video is about the video activity, so we have also to identify the object by its activity. It's crystal clear that we also have to identify the object with the file, the object name. So for a video, it's the file name. And still, we have to identify with a unique identifier, the ID, and we have also to specify that it's an activity. And as said before, the additional information can also be represented in this XAPI standard. And what is interesting for this learning trace example is about the session ID in which it was generated. So the translation, it's the XAPI translation of the courses in which the video was played, and we can also add the length, the video length in this context representation, which is an additional information that is very helpful to make analysis on this data. So we now know what is an XAPI standard, how to represent a learning activity from a learning trace in the XAPI standardization. But it only describes a specific case. Alice plays a video. But it's if we just look at on a more global perspective, let's just now consider only the video activity. On the video, with the video, you can have several interactions with the video. You can start a video, you can pause, you can seek a specific time in the timeline of the video. You can, when you have watched the whole video content, you have completed the video, and then when you leave the page where the video player is, then so you leave the fact that you are watching the video. So it's about you now see that with a video you have we have a bunch of different activities, and that's the idea on which XAPI is based. And so XAPI define this bunch of activity, this bunch of different action related on a learning activity with an XAPI profile. So an XAPI profile is a more high-level specification that standardize the whole possible action regarding an activity. And to describe, for example, the video profile, we have to use a set of concepts. We have to use also a set of templates to describe. So concepts is to describe all the verb, all the activity type, all the extensions that are possible to add to get a statement as precise as possible. And the templates describe all the action sequence that are possible with the video learning activity. So based on considering this notion of XAPI profile that describe all group of learning activity in an exhaustive way, we faced one problematic. So we wanted to regarding our company needs at Fund, we want to describe all the possible learning activity we can have on our platform. And we noticed also, we noticed that in the educational world, we were not alone to get this issue. And in this perspective, we co-create with other stakeholders from the e-learning world, with edX, with also research laboratory, learning choices expert, and national e-learning platforms. We co-create a European effort on the Gaia X initiative about learning choices. And in this effort, what we want to do is about describing the whole possible and the whole exhaustive activity on e-learning platform, but regardless of the platform where the data are generated. So we want to be as universal as possible to describe a learning activity. So in this perspective, one of the most simple action that could be that we can describe in this effort is about the navigation profile. What are all the actions we can have with the navigation on a learning platform? And so in practice, we commonly develop and write this XAPI profile during workshop, regardless of the LMS. Everyone is of the LMS from where it's generated. And so we also intend to not only limit the XAPI profile we can describe only on learning activity, but also on LMS learning activity, but also on other learning activity, for example, immersive learning. And finally, the third step, the last and third step of the data-driven learning was about visualizing the information so that teacher can then have visibility and then can get knowledge about the learning activity. So to face this issue, we developed an homemade tool, an homemade visualization tool based on the Grafana software, from where we feed the Grafana core system with a dashboard definition. It's a very technical, but it's about JSONet file that are stored on GitHub. We develop them. We co-develop them with with a pedagogical team. And the specificity also of Grafana is that we can plug every data sources we want on the input to feed the system. So it does not really depend on LMS on LMSs, but it depends on the data sources that are plugged as input on the application. So if you are interested about this the data visualization tool we have developed at FUN, I invite you to come tomorrow to the lightning talk about PODZ, where you will have more visual presentation about the dashboard we have developed and which perspective and which issue we faced and we are facing for the further development of this tool. So, data-driven learning is the first step of the adaptive learning. So now, in our backpack for the journey to adaptive learning, we have initiated the data component. But what we need to do so far is, as I said in the introduction, to bring in intelligence and intelligence layer on a system is first of all to bring a structure layer on the system. And the data is the first component, but remain skills and content. So what to do with skills and content? What do we do with these two big components? So that's the second step on which we are working and on which we want to go as far as possible. So a few summary about the data step in our journey to adaptive learning. So we have with the architecture we have developed, we are now able to collect a wide set of data from various learning infrastructure, and with the help of the XAPI standardization, we can collect data from several LMSs, and also data from also several LMSs can be cross-compared as they are written in a universal grammar. But that's not the only point that will help us to go to adaptive learning. So if we come back to the example of Alice learning English in the Professor de courses. Alice, when she will be on her trip, in let's say for example in London, she will have to be able to order something. So she will have to be able to express a complete sentence in present tense. But during her learning phase, she also has to be sure that when she learned the present tense, she also has to be sure that, let's say 15 days later, when she will be in real situations, she has to remain how to speak in present tense in English. And that's the real issue of adaptive learning. So in practice, during a learning path in the Professor de course, be able to make a complete sentence in present tense required a lot of prerequisites. It required, first of all, if we try to make if we try to modelize this, it will be about first of all conjugate a verb in present tense. But conjugate some verb in present tense is about knowing pronouns in present tense. We have to be able to know which person you if you want to make a phrase for you, or maybe for a group of people. And also conjugating verb is about knowing a set of a basic verb, knowing some verb vocabulary. But you know that a sentence is about a subject, verb, and a complement, so you have to also to know some vocabulary. So within that, writing or maybe expressing a complete sentence in present tense is skills that require several prerequisite skills, and it's a skill that is more difficult than knowing only a set of basic verbs. So we have the so for us, we consider that the knowledge can be modelized in a skill tree based. It can be modelized with a skill tree, and so every skills in this skill tree would require to get prerequisite to be able to master and to know also other skills, and skills that can be with a difficulty of lower level. And so building this skill tree is about completely rethinking the way of structuring the learning content. And it's not a work that someone can initiate or can maybe lead or run alone. Building a skill tree, so it means that completely moving the learning modelization or maybe the knowledge modelization, and considering that the knowledge is about building. So let me rephrase. So with a skill tree vision, the knowledge is not only a block of knowledge on a thematic, but it's a path that can be personal, that can be personal considering the facility of everyone, and can be also maybe infinite and can be very wide. So the vision we have for adaptive learning in our architecture would be to build a skill tree, but not alone. Building a skill tree would be to build it together. Will be to build with several stakeholders, with stakeholders from different knowledge area, from different expertise. And crowdsourcing would be, we imagine that crowdsourcing could be a possibility or one way, maybe one way just to initiate how to build a skill tree. With this crowdsourcing vision, crowdsourcing vision will mean to constitute a community of experts from different from various range of knowledge, and it will mean also to be able to communicate between every stakeholder, and also to structure it. And in this perspective, the crowdsourcing initiative would imply to think how could we collect all the skills modelization, how do we organize, and how do we visualize these skills modelization, skills gathering. And with the first experience we have with XAPI standardization, the creation of a skill tree will also could also be led, I would say, in a common effort, in a community effort. So we could imagine if it speaks to you also to this vision to maybe build, to maybe constitute, to start this skill tree in a European or maybe in a more global effort, and maybe starting it in the current existing community, maybe in the open edX community. And with the skills component in the adaptive learning come also the content component. So with this knowledge modelization on a skill tree, how the next question will be how to apply it on the content. I mean, now that we can modelize the knowledge, how can we use the content, the learning content we have on every platform, or maybe on every university, to apply it to the skill tree. So the idea would be to split it and to break down all the course content we have and to try to map it to every skills, to split it first to the skills granularity when it could be mapped. So if we reconsider this example, let's say that in the courses of Professor Do we have all this content, so we could map every of this content, the sing content, to the first skill, know a set of basic verbs, sing, play, write, read, run, it, to these first skills. So the idea in practice to construct the structure of adaptive learning architecture will be to map all the content existing content in courses content to skills in the skill tree, and once this step of structuration has been made, then the intelligence layer could be then bring on this structure layer by applying by using machine learning tools, by using machine learning algorithm to provide recommendation on evaluated skills for each learner. So I thank you for your attention, and I hope you have enjoyed and you have learned some new stuff. And if you have any question, I let you speak.
Does anyone have questions?
So as I understand it, the events come in from like an OpenEdX LMS or Moodle, and they're processed by Richie and turned into the XAPI standard, right? Follow up.
It's not only about, I mean, when you are, let's come back to the example of a course. When you are in a course, you're interacting with several different applications, and we can have traces of your activity from all the application we have. In the funds architecture, we have application for when you are writing a message on the forum. We can have your learning activity by generating learning traces. So it's from all those applications, the LMS, the CMS, the video application, and the forum application on the same level, that we would be able to track this activity. And then it will be, when we track this activity, we represent the learning traces from all these applications with the XAPI standardization. We will write that, for example, on the LMS, you access the course, the course 1. We will write it with the XAPI grammar. On the video, application, if you played the video X, then we would write it with this grammar. We we place all the application on the same same level, and that's from this application layer that then after, when we have all the traces, we can write the traces with this XAPI grammar. I hope it answered your question. Well, that's more or less.
Why don't you ask it, and I'll speak it into the mic to make sure we record it.
Sounds good. Would that data from Ralph then be used only for like analytics afterwards, or would it be fed back into the LMS or video systems for adaptive learning?
So Kyle's question was, is there a feedback loop so that the data that is ingested by Ralph can be used again by the LMS to have real-time adaptivity?
Okay, so I'm not really sure to understand the question. So Ralph, yes, let me try to think. Ralph is only about processing the data and transforming, so extracting them from the different stream and processing them to transform them in XAPI. And so you mean, yeah, the step of reusing the data generated to get adaptive learning is not about Ralph responsibility. But we would use this. We would use the data generated to as input to generate recommendation, to customize the learner path and orient the learner to new skills, and maybe to new skills or different skills. I'm not sure I really answer your question because okay.
When you do the standardization process to from the source data to the XAPI, where do you store and how do you store those XAPI data? Do you have a database or where is it?
Yeah, so XAPI was initiated by Advanced Distributed Learning, and so I did not put the stress on this aspect in my presentation, but it's good that you ask a question. So it's some specifications that are proposed by group of workers, and it's in this perspective that we have co-created a group in the GaiaX frame, the European group, and so we submit a profile. We submit a profile, and then this profile is published and is reviewed and published, and it's where you can have this. You can have the reference of this XAPI profile. And for example, for the video profile, you would have the specification of how to write an initialized statement. It's from this. It's on this server. And if you want to use it, so this profile and all the information associated with it can be extracted from this website into a JSON LD document. So this specification you can have with this document.
Trying to get all the questions. Oh, you can shout to me, but we want it to be on the recording.
Thank you, first of all. Your example with Alice learning English. I'm interested in personalized skill trees. So can you talk a little bit about how it would work with her in terms of, are there assessments or evaluations that happen that help you to tailor the personalized skill tree?
So maybe I can just put the stress on an aspect I did not insist a lot. So these skills, for example, let's say, so Alice has to be able to make a correct sentence in English, but when she will be evaluated on these skills in his learning type, we are not sure that 15 days later she will be able to still make a correct sentence. So the way we imagine to build a skill tree would be, for example, so on Wednesday, so the first Alice will be evaluated the first time about writing a complete sentence in present tense. So she succeeded in it, so okay, that's good, so we can go further. And then we will check a few days later if she will still be able to complete these skills and to successfully complete these skills. So that's the way we want to build adaptive learning. We want to use use a skill tree. So we want to from the data she has generating during her learning path, we want to ensure that all the skills level has been successfully completed by coming back, by making circular checking, coming back to the prerequisites she has already completed one time. We want to recheck this and to be sure that the skills she knows the skills in a very strong way. I hope it answers quite your question.
So we're a little bit over time. It is an incredibly interesting talk. So if you're willing to take a few more questions, I think we can, if you're willing to. Yeah. Okay, so I think Zia is next.
There is a open edX proposal, OEP 26, which basically handles the first part, the one which is basically getting edX events and then transforming those events into XAPI statements and storing those on any of your the LRS of your choice. So I was just wondering if, did you hear of that open edX proposal, or you did all that work before that OEP or the stuff? There is already implementation of that OEP.
Thank you. So yeah, so we know that there is something exists about converting the edX learning traces to XAPI standard, but this issue does not cover the whole issue we have for our platform, because we have we first start the chronology of the problem was that we have also to track learning traces from our homemade platform, from our homemade application. And so in this perspective, we built Ralph so that it can so we built Ralph considering this issue of converting from edX to XAPI from our LMS. So we did it before knowing or before being aware of the publication of this conversion tool. But it's not, Ralph is not, it's still a work in progress tool. This year we want to have the LRS compatibility to our tool. And in this tool, so one of the features is to convert from edX to XAPI, because we need to convert the learning traces we have from the LMS, but the Ralph can evolve, and if maybe I would say in the future we will only collect XAPI statement from edX, then the part we have on Ralph about converting won't be useful anymore. But I mean that's the game. I mean at the time we needed it, and so we can make Ralph also evolve.
So everybody in the back row. Yes, we want to record it.
Hi. How much time it took you to implement this XAPI?
You mean about building an XAPI profile, or okay? So the XAPI profile we are working on. We are not working alone. So we are working in this workshop, in this Gaia X workshop. So it's still a work in progress also. So we have started with a navigation profile, and so as we are several stakeholders, and we have also experts from the Moodle, experts from the edX LMS. It's not maybe I haven't been clear about that, but it's not done yet. But we are building this XAPI standardization for all LMSs. So we have started it, I would say, last year, and we are. I mean, it's the beginning of this project. We have we now agreed on which activity we want to build, but as there are so many stakeholders, it takes time, to agree so that to agree from everyone.